Hello and welcome to Lukewarm Takes, where I just sort of ramble on about anything. And right now I'm going to talk about Dan Slott's new Iron Man run. Now I'm not super caught up on it. I'm not in the latest issue, but I'm almost there. And like no one is talking about this run, and it's not hard to see why. I thought a lot of it was pretty good, but then it sort of gave its hand. It's like it wasn't really building anything because like the first like what 4 or 5 issues are just build up, build up, build up, and it doesn't really lead to anything. It's like the main villain that they keep teasing. He didn't really even have a plan. He would just make himself big, and they poke fun at that. And then they had this other villain, which was related to the Escape and all that, which was, I guess, more in the forefront. But it's like, why would you even bother having this whole background thing if it's not going to be interesting? But you know, people banked on that. People knew Dan Slott, as of late, hasn't been the greatest, and so they thought, hey, this run probably isn't going to be any good. And well, the first couple issues, you think, they're pretty filled with interesting dialogue, and there's a lot to unpack, and they have a lot of interesting ideas, like Tony feeling like he's no longer a real person because none of his body is himself, which that's new for Tony, and it really fits his character. But then again, he just digs back into the well of his alcoholism. Well, I guess it's not the alcoholism that's the problem this time. It's his nostalgia for the good times, the Avengers, the 60s. But I feel like that's just so out of Tony's character to do something like that. Because, I don't know, this whole time they built him as such a hero. Like, ever since all the old different Marvel, Tony's been built as more heroic than he has in recent years, in years before that. Because, like, Civil War, like, both Civil Wars, people say, uh, they're, you're supposed to pick a side, but really, we know they're not perfectly unbiased. Like, Captain America is clearly more right in the first Civil War, and Iron Man is clearly more right in the second Civil War, which is emblematic of how they see Iron Man as a character. He was a lot more of sort of an anti-hero, kind of a dick in pre-Secret Wars, but then, especially after Axis, he became Superior Iron Man, but that was because of a whole different thing. But then after that, in his own solo run, the Awesome Facial Hair Bros with Doctor Strange, and that whole run, you know, he was like a nice guy. He was a hero for a change, and that was really refreshing. And so, I thought that with Dan Slott would continue that with the character after obviously he had died, been replaced, and been brought back. And that's clearly what he was doing for his couple issues of his run. But then at this point, it's like, where's he going with the story? Like, again, I haven't finished it. Like, you would think it would be like his Spider-Man run, where Spider-Man is a hero, but then Peter Parker is just a piece of shit, and Dan Slott clearly doesn't like him. But it's kind of the opposite, where like Tony, whenever he is just himself running a business, he's perfectly fine and does a lot of great things, saves the day. And that one issue with the old dating app, just doesn't even have to suit up for that. But like when he's in the Iron Man suit, that seems to be the toxic persona. Like again, in the latest issue that I read, when he builds his whole escape, it's a pretty suspicious thing. And freaking the nostalgia of it all, it's like he's trying to recapture these times like when he was a person. What I was saying, it's like it seems like Dan Slott wants him to give up this Iron Man persona because it's bad for him. It's like how is that sustainable, and like why is it bad for him? I mean, like, is it delusions of grandeur and making him think that he's better than everybody else and that he needs to like give all that up because that represents his past and he needs to build a new future? Is that what he's trying to say? Is he gonna give him like a new persona, a new suit? That'd be, I guess, an interesting story. But again, it's like when you move on from that, I mean, hindsight is 2020. It's like future writers aren't gonna remember all that, and they're just gonna treat the Iron Man suit as great. It's like, hey, remember when it was like ruining his life and everything? Again, we just don't know how this is gonna impact the future, and it's like past stories have impacted this run with his brother and all of that. It's like that's how Marvel works. Everything is canon all the time. But it's still that there's a difference between introducing a character and a story and completely changing the context behind previous stories. Like I just don't want to see Tony Stark as a really depressed guy all the time, contemplating. Like, of course, he's smart. He should be more contemplative than the typical person than Peter Parker, apparently, even though he's super intelligent. But I just want. We all want to see our heroes happy. Of course, they can go through tough, hard times, but like, we don't want to hear that our biggest figures, the heroic parts of them, are bad for them. I mean, like, giving up the whole persona, what would that even do? It's like, he needs a new Iron Man. Like, how would that be any different than the old Iron Man? It's like, I don't know, it would just feel forced going back to it if they were to have, because they would obviously have to bring back the Iron Man suit if they ever got rid of it in this run. But it's like, you would just have to have a good explanation for everything. And I feel like there's just no point to making Tony such a jerk at this point, because you're either gonna have be a bait and switch, and if he's not really being a jerk, which just seems completely pointless, or he was a jerk and then he learns from it, but that just seems like kind of A, out of character for him to be this dickish, and B, like, it seems like if you were to really go full with it and fix what he needs to fix, and not just the surface level of it, then it's just gonna get unfixed by some other writer. Like, you've unfixed shit that he solved in the past, so it's like, what's even the point of it?